co-host from Preplaced. So, hi everyone. Thank you for taking time out on this Sunday morning. So, appreciate your time and let's move forward to make this session successful. So, my name is Meenu, and I'm someone who's worked in global career transitions for 20 plus years now. And a brief introduction about me. I'm someone not only with 20 plus years of experience, but also who's made 7 career transitions and going strong so far, right? So, and this is across countries, across continents, across roles, across domains, and across industries. So, I'll start by my own career transition. So, I started as a banker and changed countries. I was working in India. I changed countries to move to North America, where I became a business consultant with the second largest bank in North America. Moved on, did that for a couple of years, and moved on to become to get into human resources. And this was in Asia Pac, where I worked with companies like Buick and was running HR operations for them for 1,000 plus teams. And from there, I moved on to become an entrepreneur. And from an entrepreneur, I donned another hat where I got into talent acquisition. So I worked with companies like Accenture and international technology companies. And then I moved on to become again an entrepreneur. So multiple roles, multiple industries, multiple countries, and multiple domains. And let me tell you that career transitions is whatever, irrespective of whatever everyone says, career transitions are daunting, right? So it's been one of the most toughest periods of my life when I've been kind of changing careers and moving across. And it is harder than what people think. It is longer than what people think. And it is not linear, right? So it's not like a linear straight line track that just goes higher and higher. It doesn't work like that. So the new terminology that is used these days is called career portfolios. So all of us are building career portfolios. So they are like, and our profile is a mixed amalgamation of these career portfolios. So it's not going to be linear. So don't expect if I'm a manager now in the next role that I get across industry, across domain, across the country, I'm going to be a senior manager. It doesn't. Career transitions don't work like that. And this is something which is very, very important. It's not a job change. It is much more than a job change. So career these days is our identity. It is who we are, right? So career is important, and in career transitions, we generally don't have role models, right? So it's not that I have this role model and I'm kind of following that role model and I look at his or her journey. It doesn't work like that, right? So each and everyone's journey is going to be unique, and it is uncharted territory, means that it's not written somewhere, right? So basically, आपकी journey आपकी है, आपका path आपका है, और आप ही driver seat में है. So that's the best part of career transition, that you are in the driver's seat, right? And now there are organizations like Preplace, right? So which kind of make these journeys much easier, right? So they kind of, you have mentors who handhold you through these journeys, right? When you're doing a career change, you want to grow in your career path, you want to move across industries. So you get on companies like Preplaced, and with Preplace, you work with mentors directly who kind of handhold you for a month, for 2 months, for 3 months, whatever your journey requires, right? To kind of make this transition seamless for you, right? So you have a mentor you work with very closely, and they make your journey, they hold hands with you and make your journey move forward, right? So, and this is my journey. So 7+ career transitions, a banker, a business consultant, a leader, HR leader, talent acquisition leader, entrepreneur, and so on and so forth. And I am also a LinkedIn top career development voice, and I'm here to decode the journey for career invention for all of you. So I have a question for you. How long did your parents work in their careers, right? So if you could write on the chat window, how long was your parents' journey? Like, how long did they move in their careers, right? So, for example, I'll give you my example. My dad was an engineer and he worked for 35 plus years as an engineer in the same organization, in the same company for 35 long years, right? So please, if you could kind of tap in your responses, like 38 years, okay? My father is still working in the same company, 20 plus years, excellent. And 35 years, yeah. Excellent. So see, our parents continued with their 38 years. Excellent. So yeah. And they've not got bored. They've not moved industries. They've not moved countries. They haven't thought about transitions, right? And Swaraj, how long, when did your father join, right? So he's working in the same company. So I'm sure he's 20 plus years in the same company. Excellent. So let me now share in 1998. Wow. Excellent. Excellent. Yes. So now let me show you some data, right? So sorry, I have American data because there is a lot of data available for the US, but we still are capturing this data in India, right? So see, 70 plus Americans are 70% plus Americans are considering a career switch as we speak right now. Average people change their careers 10 to 15 times during their working years, right? And only 21% of the college graduates use all of their education at work. I see one third of the population today for this workshop is college freshers or college graduates, right? So only 21% of them, one fifth of them, are going to use what they've studied in their undergrad or postgrad while working. And 91% of the millennials that were born between 1977 and 1997 expect to change job every 3 years, right? So that's very, very interesting data, right? So, and I would like to know from the audience, how many of them are contemplating a career transition as we speak? So are you looking to change your career? Are you in the midst of a career change right now? Are you planning it for the future? Okay, so Vivek says yes. And I'm sure if you are a part of attendee, yes, Khushi says yes, Shriji says yes, Pavitra says yes. Excellent, excellent. So Subhadeep is looking for a domain change, interesting. And Piyush says yes, excellent. So what we are going to do today in this session will be we will talk about this current time being an era of constant career transitions, the career transitions, what, why, when, and how. How do we go about them? What about them? Why, when, and how? The journey of self-discovery. How does a career transition start? By assessing yourself, looking at the skill gap analysis, unlearning, relearning, and narrating your story authentically, right? So this is broad. I will also talk about journeys of a couple of my mentees and people at pre-place, beyond pre-place, and in my career journey, right? So that there are some learnings that you can take away from this session as well. So, hmm. So career transitions are basically exploring, finding, and moving into a new job or a career. They are complex, like I said. So it's like peeling an onion, right? So there are layers and layers that come like when you peel an onion, there's so many layers, right? So that's how career transitions are. The best part is you are in the driver's seat. The journey is going to be unique. And it is like an adventure waiting to unfold. So at the beginning of the session, I did talk about my journey and how those career transitions have been the toughest time like for me. But yes, the part that I did not share is that the rewards have been amazing, right? So it has been amazing results after like you go through a career transition, right? And yes, some of you, when you do career transitions, are going to take the beat like a known path, and many of you are going to take the unknown paths as well, right? So let's go ahead and talk about the whys, the whats, and the whens. Also, we live in this area of constant career transition, right? So there's like so many things that are happening. There's technology, there's remote work, there is flexible work. So there's so much dynamics that's happening. Even for companies, if you notice, right? So there was this great resignation that happened, and now there's the layoffs that we are going through in technology and finance being hit, right? So it's constantly evolving, right? So whether we like it, whether we not like it, some of us get into voluntary career transitions, some of us also get into involuntary career transitions, right? So you may be laid off, you might have been asked to look out for a role, or you might have simply lost your job, right? So it could be voluntary, it could be involuntary as well. And also our job expectations have changed, right? So we are a job is or a career is no longer just a career, right? It's our identity. It gives us our passion, it gives us our purpose, it gives us flexibility. It is everything about our life, right? So careers have become more like they've over time, it's not just a job we go to and come back, right? It defines our life. And so, irrespective of whatever anyone tells you, it's not going to be a park, walk in the park. It is a wild ride, and it is mysterious, it is challenging, and it is important. And more so for mid career transitions. And I'm not sure how many of you are going through them as well, right? So, they are more tougher. And I'm sure freshers will say that when you enter after academic study at undergrad and postgrad level, when you enter your first roles, yes, that's definitely difficult. When you change industry, you change domain, that's very difficult. When you change it at midlife, right, that's tougher too. And I had asked a question that how many of you are going through a career transition, right? So you had most of you had said yes, you're currently undergoing a career transition. So I would like to know from you, what is the timeline you foresee? So is it happening right now? Is it in the next couple of weeks? Is it planned for the next 6 months or in the coming year? So what are the timelines you have in mind for this? If you could just put it in the chat window. It's happening. Swaraj says yes. And Abhishek's trying from, okay, Abhishek, you're trying for last 4 months. And also give me an idea, right? So when you talk about career transition, what are you doing? Are you changing domains, countries, industries, roles? Siddhant is trying for last 6 months, okay? And definitely Abhishek, Siddhant, and many others, I would like to know your stories, right? So I will first share stories of some of my mentees and see if they resonate with you, and would love to hear your stories as well. Interesting. Industry, media to IT. Okay. Next 6 months, domain change within IT industry. Okay. That's times for IT industry. Super deep. From last 2 months, Vivek says, okay. Pavitra says next 3 or 4 months, change of role, banking to analytics. Very interesting. Shweta says switch from non-IT to IT, data analyst to back-end development. Interesting. Pursuing business analyst course now. Will be trying for changing a job. Abhishek says data analyst in media industry and want to transition into IT. And Kushi says consulting. So I'm assuming Kushi is a fresher who's entering consulting. Shrijit says non-IT to data science. Okay. Interesting. So interesting career changes that are all lined up, right? So excellent. So let's hear of some successful career stories. And I'm sure we are all aware of that. So just to start the workshop on a very positive note, right? So Jeff Bezos, right? You've heard about his story. He started at 31, Wall Street to e-commerce. So let me tell you something more about Jeff Bezos in the next slide. Martha Stewart, she was a model. She did a 5 year stint as a Wall Street stockbroker. So modeling to stockbroking. And then she started a company called Martha Stewart Living, right? And Arnold Schwarzenegger, everyone knows about the career changes he made, right? So he was a bodybuilder in his 20s, an actor in his 30s, and a governor of California at the age of 56. Sandeep, one of my mentees, he moved from consulting to culinary arts. So from consulting to doing full-time cooking, full-time paid cooking. Seema was an architectural designer who moved into marketing at a software company. She got into marketing at a software company. And then I talk about a mentee who's an engineer with limited experience who got into a product role. And interesting was that he had resume gaps and more of training experience. And I'm going to be talking about his story in greater detail. And then there is a dentist with 15 years plus experience. She worked at the Max Hospital in Kurkau and she moved into consulting, right? So 15 years as a dentist after hardcore study and now a successful consultant, right? So interesting stories there. And yes, so let's first talk about Jeff Bezos' story that I promised about. So Jeff Bezos, he was at the Wall Street. He was making good money, good bonuses lined up, and he decides that he's going to sell books online. So he goes with his boss to the Central Park, and they're walking, and he says, "I want to leave this job, and I want to sell books online." So his boss is trying to dissuade him, right? And he says, uh, I can under and Jeff then gives him a business case. This is why I want to do it. The industry is going to boom. This is the data that I've read. And his boss says, okay, I understand everything, but this would have been more relevant for someone who was unemployed, right? So he wasn't doing anything great. And now he wanted to sell books online, right? But when you have you have this well-paying job, you have so much money coming your way, bonuses which are accruing to you in the next few months. Why do you want to do this, right? So why do you want to take so much risk, right? So what he said, so Jeff Bezos goes back and he tells his boss that, okay, I'm going to come back and have this discussion with you tomorrow. And then he comes up with this kind of a framework. He designs this framework and he calls it the regret minimization framework, right? Which helps him decide, which makes him resigning from his job much easier, right? So he says, so there's two ways, right? So when we try to do something, there's two things that can happen, right? So we can try to build something we have strong conviction in and fail, or we fail to give it a try, right? So this is one path, which is trying to build something we believe in and which might fail, which fails, and not failing, right? So listening into everybody and not trying at all, right? So not trying at all and so not failing, right? So when he thinks and when he thought about kind of he keeps this, and what is he going to regret more when he's 80 years of age, right? So trying to do something and believe that he believed in and failing, or not trying to do anything, right? So he decides that yes, when he's 80, he's going to regret not trying to do something, even if he fails at it, right? So it kind of helped him define, right? It helped him kind of define what he wanted to do and decide what he wanted to do, right? So there's not a lot of theories or frameworks available when you change careers, but this is something very, very useful, right? So for some of us who are standing at the door and trying to think, should I take this leap or should I not take this leap, right? So think about his framework, right? So जो उसने किया कि मैं करूं और फेल हूं या करूं ही नहीं, right? So that kind of is very, very important, right? So coming back to coming back to the how we start our career journey, right? So first step, right? So when we look at career transition in a snapshot, अगर हम पूछे तो क्या है? Career transition है आप assess करोगे, आप basically it's a path of self discovery. It is assessing your situation, assessing your circumstances where you are right now, and then kind of realizing or seeing what your unique skill sets are, and kind of building up your storyline and selling it authentically, right? So it's basically a journey of self discovery. It is acknowledging your unique skills and then learning to authentically build your story and narrate it, right? So that's what we do. That's what the mentors do at Preplace, right? So, and let me explain this to you through a mentee's journey, right? So I have this mentee, right? So he's from Bangalore, and he's passed out from a average college, technical college in Bangalore. He's done a BTech. He did a BTech in electronics, not computers. And he worked as a embedded software developer. He worked as a software developer for 1.5 years in Bangalore. And he wasn't happy. He wasn't happy doing it. And then he said, let me change my job. And then he went into a kitchen technology company, which was making these unique products, which would kind of make cooking in industrial kitchens easy. Okay, he did that. He was underpaid. So he decides, I'm not going to do this and let me do a course. So he does one course and then he does a technical course and then and then sadly COVID happens and then he loses a close family member. He loses his dad, and he he has to come back. And they have a business. They have a business of saris. So they're middlemen who are selling saris, right? So they're traders. So he comes and works on it for 2 years. It doesn't work. Then he realizes during this time that he's interested in product development, and he goes and does a course in product development, which is around a 6 months course, which gives him some exposure, right? And his resume, right? So resume had these odd jobs, right? So first he's a developer for 1.5 years, then he's done some course, then he writes a career break, then he writes a career break, then he writes this course, and now he's looking for a product development, a role for a product development manager, right? So and this is how he came to me, right? And he was underconfident because I'm no one will look at this resume, right? So even if he gets a call, his resume gaps were very evident, right? उसने लिखा हुआ था word career gap, business लिखा था, नहीं career gap लिखा था, business तो लिखा ही नहीं था, उसने gap दिखाया भी था. Or so it was a resume which had these things that he had done in silos. There was no connection, no storyline, and he was looking for a managerial role, right? So this this is something interesting. So now what we started doing, what I started doing with him was, first I understood what he had done and why he was interested in product development, right? And then I realized that there was a common theme, right? So he left his development role because even though he was hands-on, right, he did not enjoy. He took the kitchen tech company, he worked there for 1.5, 2 years, and he was actually doing some role which was a similar role to a product development analyst, right? So he was working on the user interface. He was getting some features added on to the products. He was interacting with customers. He was also interacting with the marketing team, and he was also interfacing with the technical team, right? So there was a lot of common things that a product analyst or a product developer does, right? So he was doing a lot of this, and then he became an entrepreneur because he had no choice. He had to wind up the sari business after his dad passed away, and then he went on to do this course, which was a product development role where he got exposure, right? So what we did was we fixed his story, right? And he came to me as someone who did not even believe his story, right? Because these were dots, right? And even see the interviewers or the HR will see these gaps, but you yourself has to first build a story and believe the story, right? And see the commonality and build that story. So his story evolved like someone who passed out of a technical college. He became a developer, and when he became a developer, a hands-on developer, he realized his interest lay in product development. So he worked with this kitchen technology company. Now, a catering company is a kitchen tech company selling equipment to catering or industrial caterers, right? Doesn't give you an impression, right? So, but this company was a company which was selling across 29 countries in the world, right? So that image changes, right? He used the product jargon to populate his kitchen tech company experience, right? So it kind of evolved as a product development role that he had done, right? Then he brought in entrepreneurship. Entrepreneurship is a value add for all recruiters, right? So it's not a gap. It is because of COVID. It is because of a demise in his family. And he's proud of that. Proud of the fact that He went and completed his family's responsibility. So it is not hindering his life story. And then he did this 6 months course where he kind of highlighted his experience from the hands-on projects that he had done. And then he switched. And so this was the story he built. The difference was now he picked up, he kind of populated this resume with the right jargon, which the recruiters who were looking for product development analysts were, they were looking for the keywords, right? So his experience spoke in that same terminology, spoke in the same language to the recruiters. And then he also kind of refined his job search to look for an analyst role rather than a managerial role. So this is and then he also learned, one, he learned the resume skills. He learned to build his story with the right language. He fixed his resume. He learned how to kind of network. He learned how to use LinkedIn to network. And he also learned through plays for, I think, more than a month, right, to speak his story with confidence. And now if you speak to him the way he speaks to you with confidence, and he's not even completed 2 months, right, he's just done around 5 weeks, he's landed himself a role already, right? And now he's going to look for more senior roles, but his body language changed, his storyline changed, his expression changed, right? So this is like, I'm giving a very top level view on a story, right? So it's far more details in the real life, right? But just to give you an overview, right? So now when I say assess your situation, right? So when I say assess your situation, sometimes we are looking at career transitions just because we have a bad boss. So is it a bad boss? आपका boss खराब है या micromanager है या role ही ठीक नहीं है, तो उसके लिए career like उसके लिए you don't do a career change, right? So you have to assess up like, is there a situation reason? ये situational reason है या fundamental reason है कि मैं I don't bring my passion to work. I hate what I do. I don't like it. I don't enjoy it, right? और दूसरी चीज, मेरा end goal क्या है? मुझे करना क्या है? You have to ask yourself these questions. What do I really want to do? Is that what I foresee, that I will work in this role for years and grow in this? Or no, this is not aligned to my passion or what I expected out of my life. And if you want clarity on this, you have to write your own autobiography. You write. Now, when I say autobiography, doesn't mean 100-page autobiography. You sit down with a pen and paper and write what you expect out of life, right? And this will help, right? So it could be a 1 page, it could be a half page, it need not be 100 pages. You also define कि मुझे क्या है मेरे timelines, मेरे resources क्या है, मैं short term में चीजें ढूंढ रही हूँ, मैं long term में चीजें ढूंढ रही हूँ, right? So sorry, so this is what you need to kind of define. And at this stage, I will kind of pause for a minute and wait for you guys to kind of, sorry, I'm moving fast. So I will pause here and wait to kind of hear from you. What are your thoughts or comments, right? So are you in the phase of assessing your situation? क्या वजहें हैं? What are the reasons why you are looking for a career change or a transition? Comments, thoughts. Shrijit, what prompted you to move from non-IT to data science? Is it because data science is doing well? Or Khushi, what prompted you to move into consulting? Why not any other line? Or Abhishek, why a data analyst to media industry? Pooja, you are pursuing business analyst. So you are, okay, so you want to be a business analyst, okay? So, and Siddhant, you want to move from data analyst to backend development. So why these changes? आपकी situation की वजह से, is it the bad job, or you've heard this industry is paying very well? So let me change my industry. Let me, everyone, like last year, I saw so many people getting into like growth marketing, right? So it became the keyword, right? So even now I'm also on a career change, right? So it's something very interesting that I'm trying to do, right? So I got very interested in LinkedIn marketing, right? So I sell to a lot of businesses, right? So who are my clients? We help them get clients through LinkedIn, right? So that's my new career transition, right? But yes, that's LinkedIn is what intrigues me, right? And LinkedIn is very, very useful in whatever we do, right? So the mentee did use LinkedIn to get his role, right? So another of my mentees, right? So he's a CFO and he wasn't able to get the placements, right? So he was going for interviews and he wasn't cracking it, right? So it wasn't. He was also changing cities, right? So he was urgently looking for a role in a new city. Now when I spoke to him, right? So I spent a lot of time to kind of understand what people have done in each of their profile, right? In each of their stints, right? So when I was talking to him, what used to happen was he was giving me a lot of jargon, a lot of data, not a lot of data, but a lot of jargon. And somewhere when he was talking to me, when I went over his profile and I asked him, what you do in this stint, what did you do? So when he would start, I would somehow lose track because the words that were coming out were technical. There was a lot of jargon and I wasn't understanding. So I got lost in all his experiences and could not figure out what he's trying, who is sitting in front of me and why should I hire him, right? So I used to lose it, right? And now that he's interviewing very well and he's not being rejected at the interviews, what he did different was, see, when you talk to a recruiter, right? And recruiter, when you are looking for roles, he's your first interface, right? So he is not a specialist. I'm not a specialist, right? I would not know see, I would know at till a particular level, but not beyond. I don't understand your jargon, right? So what was happening? He was giving me too much details, and as a recruiter, so for his first interface would be a junior to a mid-level recruiter when he interacts in an organization, they only understand the job description. And job description is very clear. It has the keywords. It is like a question paper. They know what exactly they are looking for and your resume, right? So it has to be a match, right? And even when I'm talking to you, there has to be that match has to be very evident, right? सो नॉर्मली क्या होता है, नॉर्मली हम इतने इंटरेस्टेड होते हैं ना अपनी लाइफ के बारे में बताने में और अपने एक्सपीरियंसेस के बारे में बताने में, बट समवेयर वी फॉरगेट कि सामने वाले को इसमें इंटरेस्ट नहीं है, ही लूज interest, right? So what we changed about this mentee was we made his resume very strategic, right? So it was kind of top level. So we highlighted his experiences, right? So he had done fundraising, he had done mergers. He had grown a company 14x to an X amount of revenue. He had worked with a budget of 10,000 crore. So he had very good overall. So when all of this high level points were shared first with the recruiter, with his interviewers, and then depending on who he was interviewing with, he got into the relevant details, right? So अगर मुझे मालूम है आप फंड रेजिंग के लिए मार्केट में आए हैं, आपने मुझे इंटरव्यू के लिए बुलाया है, सो जब आप मुझसे बात करते हैं, so I will focus on that experience, right? So when you say that, tell me about when any interview you go across the world, any country, any region, and across levels, right? So the first question they start with is tell me about yourself, right? So उसमें terminology बदल जाएगी, कुछ बदल जाएगा, but basically वो आपसे आपके बारे में first is a icebreaker, right? In whatever language it is asked. That is your selling area, right? उसी में आप ब्रेक करते हैं, आप आइस ब्रेक करते हैं, कनेक्शन बिल्ड करते हैं, रैपो बिल्ड करते हैं और उनको वही जवाब देते हैं जो वो आपसे पूछना चाहते हैं, right? So that's where you make it or break it during an interview, right? और वही आपको वही जवाब, now you will think and you cannot do it extempore. आप बोल नहीं सकते कि मैं वहां जाके कर, वैसे नहीं होता. It is a pitch, it is a lot of preparation, and it is not even a pitch. मैंने आपको pitch दे दिया, आप बोलेंगे, ये भी नहीं होता. It takes a couple of weeks. You build that story, and you learn to talk that story authentically, right? So वो चीज आती है और वो प्रैक्टिस से आती है कि आपको नींद में भी कोई उठाएगा ना रात को और बोलेगा क्या किया हुआ है. So you should be able to say that, building eye contact with the right words, right language, and in the same jargon of the industry that you're entering it, right? आप प्रोडक्ट में घुस रहे हैं और आप कोई और कैजुअल लेवल वर्ड्स यूज कर रहे हैं तो नहीं समझ आएगा, वो बिल्ड ही नहीं होगा. So basically, it is a art of your unique storytelling. And उससे पहले सबसे जरूरी है, पहले आप अपनी स्टोरी में खुद तो बिलीव करिए. So important thing when you do career transitions is joining those dots, right? So connecting those dots is something very, very important, right? So आप सीखते हैं आप कैसे वो dots connect करेंगे, एक authentic storyline बनाएंगे, और आप उसको कैसे सही तरीके से बोलेंगे. So yes, so coming, I think I lost track and I went on to this, but yeah. So coming back to the presentation. So yes, so what's your end goal? Yeah, so I spoke about situational and fundamental reasons, right? Why you have to determine if it's situational, if it's fundamental, and by assessing your current situation, right? So see, अगर आपको यही नहीं मालूम कि if you don't know where you are, how will you assess where you want to go, right? So that is why we say कि आप लिखिए, आप assess करिए आज आपके reasons क्या हैं, और तभी आप determine कर पाएंगे कि where you want to go. Your situation. Assessing your situation is the first step, okay? And you have to write your end goal जहां आप जाना चाहते हैं, and you do it by an autobiography. We've spoken about his minimization, regret minimization framework, right? So now coming back to how you go on to a career transition search, right? So आप अपने options explore करेंगे. पहले तो एक there's a very good tool called Gallup Strength Finder. बहुत सारी assessments online भी मिलती हैं. पहले आप अपनी strengths देखिए, आप बात करिए. जॉब बोर्ड्स हैं जो आप इंडस्ट्री एक्सप्लोर करना चाहते हैं, जो जॉब्स एक्सप्लोर करिए, उनके जेडीज पढ़िए, इंडस्ट्री रिपोर्ट्स पढ़िए. सोशल मीडिया में there's so much available, right? You network, you attend events, webinars, workshops, courses. There's so much available to help you kind of explore these career options. And definitely the mentors are the best people because because they make this work easier for you if they have the right experience and the right skill set, right? And tools are very important, and networking is important. Networking, there's no two ways about it, but networking may be आप नेटवर्किंग भी सही लोगों से, सही लेवल के लोगों से, सही लैंग्वेज यूज करके सही तरीके से होता है. आपका हक नहीं है. इट्स नॉट योर right. There's so many people in a given day. I get hundreds of mails and requests on my LinkedIn, right? So it's like कई लोग तो अपना हक समझ. There's a way to do it, right? So for my mentees, for example, I've gone out of the way, right? So when I see that they have the potential, right? They're putting it, or potential se zyada, if they are also interested in their journey and very serious about it and making to put in the effort, you also want to go look at your network and see how those synergies could be built better, right? So that's also what a lot of mentors do, right? They also help you network, right? So, and yes, when you're looking for kind of researching careers, it is important that आप एक role identify या एक job identify मत करिए. आप look at one or two possible options. I always suggest come up with a list of possibilities, right? So 1 to 2 possible cells are very important in this, right? So you have to explore at least 1 to 2 options in parallel. और फिर आप अपना skill gap देखिए, right? So keep in mind that you are, see, आपको मालूम है desired जो आपका job है उसमें आपको क्या skill set चाहिए, right? With the mentee who went into product development, we would have gone through like 30 JDs, right? So much so that he knew what is all the employers, and it is very similar. Once you've done 3, 4, 5, you will know what is the common thread, right? And then आप देखते हैं आप क्या skills ला रहे हैं. So there's a set of skills which are called transferable skills जो आप हर job में use करते हैं. It is communication, it is a collaboration, it is writing skills, it's your industry knowledge, right? You look at these skills that you are bringing to the table, and then you also look at the skill gap. आपका gap कहाँ पे, क्या चीज नहीं है आपके resume में. अगर आप देखते हैं work experience नहीं है, right? So how you can कई बार हम सेम रेज्यूमे से बहुत चीजें खुद से निकाल जाते हैं if you work with the right people, right? They're able to extract the best out of your own resume, which you're not able to understand sometimes, right? So even like with this mentee's experience, like with the same resume, we could turn it around. See, he did not do anything else other than what he had done. It's just that our approach changed his own outlook towards his own experience, which helped him get a job, right? So that is one. And if there is actually a skill gap, see, in some technical roles there will actually be a skill gap, right? So there's always options to kind of quickly fix those skill gaps, right? So there's Coursera, Grow School, multiple other options, right? LinkedIn पे बहुत चीजें हैं, YouTube पे बहुत चीजें, right? So no one, आजकल employees are not really asking for, they want to know more about the skills that you bring, the terminology you speak about, rather than where you picked up that skill from, right? So if you say you're confident in that skill, that's all that is needed, right? So now we look at the skill gap analysis, and it's like a treasure map to your career growth, right? So you look at Google, you scan job descriptions, network with people in the field of your interest. Use Coursera, Udemy, Skillshare, LinkedIn Learning, and get these skills and bridge the gaps, right? So I know it's easier said than done, but kai baar, see, when we think about career transitions, it's gray, it's like a hawa, right? बहुत बड़ा हवा है. जब आप उसको steps में define करते हैं, तो शायद इतना बड़ा हवा नहीं होता. And you can always apply these skills, right? So like आप अपने काम में volunteer कर सकते हैं, freelance कर सकते हैं. आजकल तो side hustles भी हैं, and then you can work for free and get recommendations for free, right? So there's so much that you can do, right? And yes, resume, the professional story makeover. I want to pause here, and I want to hear if people have any, want to add anything in the comments. While I pause for a water break, any comments, thoughts, please feel free to put it in the window. Hi, am I audible? Oh, sorry, I think. 1 second. Yeah. Hi. Okay. Yes. Yes. So, any comments, any thoughts? I don't. Okay. Subhadeep says, I do not bring any passion at my current role. It is not something that even excites me in the first place. I want to be a part of software development community that builds products that leaves a lasting impression when a user uses my products. It is something which I have explored and have made quite a few projects very interesting. This has piqued my interest and I want to scale myself up in this domain. Excellent, right? So Subhadeep, I think half the job is done because you know what piques your passion, right? You've also worked in that domain. And okay, so where are you on this journey right now, Subhadeep? And Swarat says, I'm not enjoying civil engineering. It was just a JE thing. Whichever branch I got, it went for it. But now I believe my interest lies somewhere else. I mean, if you need to watch a Sandeep Maheshwari video every day just to go to work. Oh, I'm sorry, Swaraj, that you go through this, right? Life is too long. Yes, it doesn't work like that. You have to really enjoy something about your work, right? So yes, you don't have to watch motivational videos to go to work. Absolutely not. And see, that's the best part, Swaraj. Agar, see, that is very important, right? So for me, I realized, mentoring people, for example, right? It's a passion that I have, right? And I realized when I went to look at my own career journey, I realized that this is something, अगर ये तो मैं हमेशा ही अपने करियर पैथ में करती आई। जब मैं नॉर्थ अमेरिका में थी और मैकगिल और मैकमास्टर के बच्चों को हायर करती थी, तो भी मैं यही काम करती थी। जब मैं एक्सेंचर में हायरिंग करती थी या यूएट में हायरिंग करती थी, तो भी I was always very interested in the candidate's life journey, the path, and kind of. So this is something that excited me, right? So it has to be, yes, a career is too long, but then Swaraj, आप ये ध्यान रखें. See, you're pretty young, I assume, right? So it's a good time, right? Or you also have to learn, and I will talk about what is important when you do these career transitions. बहुत बोलना आसान है, बट कई बार जब आप कंपैरिजंस में घुसोगे, आप नहीं तो आपके आसपास वाले लोग करेंगे, राइट? सो इफ आई टॉक अबाउट माई सेल्फ, राइट, आई एम प्राउड ऑफ वॉट एवर करियर पोर्टफोलियोज आई हैव बिल्ट, बट अगर मैं कभी भी अपने लोअर स्टेप में जाऊंगी, आई एम ऑल्सो ह्यूमन, राइट, और मैं कंपेयर करूंगी, मेरी जूनियर तो एमएनसी बैंक में एमडी है, राइट, और आज की बात नहीं, ये 4 साल पहले की बात है, और मैं एक बिजनेस वापस बिल्ड कर रही हूँ, राइट? So comparison, so that's what, right? So if your passion is into it, you will scale through, right? And that's what I talk about. आपका growth जो है career में, growth पहले क्या होता था, एक लेवल पे शुरू किया और आप ग्रो करते करते एक स्ट्रेट लाइन होता था, ऊपर की तरफ जाता था। अब तो पोर्टफोलियो है, ये भी किया, ये भी किया, ये भी किया, ये भी किया, और उनको आप कैसे उन डॉट्स को कनेक्ट कर रहे हो, सामने वाले को कैसे आप ऑथेंटिकली बता रहे हो, दैट इज व्हाट इज वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट, राइट? सो यू हैव टू बिल्ड योर ओन ऑथेंटिक स्टोरी। और जब आप देखिए, रिक्रूटर के लिए बहुत आसान होता है जज करना कि आप अपनी स्टोरी में बिलीव करते हो कि नहीं करते हो, बहुत आसान होता है, राइट? सो मे बी even for a junior to a mid level, maybe not, but जब आप final interviews के लिए आएंगे तो वो लोग तो पकड़ लेते हैं. So you have to first believe in your own story, why you are doing it, what you are doing, what is the path you're doing, right? So that is, Subhadeep, very important, and so is it for you, Swaraj, right? But Swaraj, high time you change. If you have to watch motivational videos, I'm sorry. And yeah, I'm currently learning how to make those projects scalable and also preparing my resume post that. Absolutely, Subhadeep, right? So whether you want to work as a freelancer, sell it on up. कई लोग अपने अपवर्क बहुत अच्छे से काम करते हैं जब साइड हसल्स होते हैं बेचने के लिए, बट आई फील इट्स टू लो प्राइस, बट दैट्स माय पर्सनल ओपिनियन. बट आप शुरू करें यार, ऑलमोस्ट यूर काइंड ऑफ, तो इट डजंट हर्ट, राइट? यू वांट recommendations, you want people who worked on your project, and article, there's so much available online, right? So Subhadeep, good, I'm happy at your journey, but yeah, so good, you're on the right track. But then it's not these three dots, right? So even though मैंने अपनी मेंटी की स्टोरी इतने अच्छे से बता दी, but there's very fine details that goes into it, right? So it's a lot of fine tuning, right? Because आपके लिए इन्वेस्टमेंट बहुत है टाइम का, राइट? तो आप गलती करेंगे, सीखेंगे, उसको फिक्स करेंगे. सो अगर इफ यू हैव द टाइम एंड रिसोर्सेज टू वर्क विद अ मेंटर, आई वुड ऑलवेज एडवाइस इट, राइट? सो इवन पीपल लाइक मी, आई वर्क विद अ मेंटर, राइट? सो व्हेन आई एम स्विचिंग माय ओन करियर, आई वर्क with the mentor, क्योंकि मैं क्यों गलतियां वापस करूं, right? So if someone's made these mistakes and has had learnings from it, so if it I went with a mentor, right? So I went with a mentor to make my journey faster and more result oriented, right? Because मेरे लिए opportunity cost बहुत है. अगर मैं खुद 2 साल उसी चीज में गलती करके सीखती रहूंगी, बजाय मैं 3 महीने में go to market वाली मेरी strategies थी, मैं उसी चीज से कमा रही हूँ, right? So there is a huge opportunity cost, right? Because there's career involved and there's also scalability and money involved, right? So to each his own, that's what they say, right? So excellent. Thank you for sharing your stories. So yes, the important part. Yes, so revamping your resume is very, very important, right? So basically revamp, it's basically matching transferable skills, your achievements, and the value proposition that you bring to requirements and expectations of the industry, right? So it's a match. आप क्या लाते हैं, आपका यूनिक वैल्यू प्रोपोजिशन क्या है, आपकी क्या ट्रांसफरेबल स्किल्स हैं, आप उनको हाईलाइट करेंगे, अपनी अचीवमेंट्स हाईलाइट करेंगे विच आर रेलेवेंट, और आप क्या वैल्यू प्रोपोजिशन लाते हैं टू द रिक्वायरमेंट्स एंड एक्सपेक्टेशंस ऑफ द इंडस्ट्री in the language that particular industry understands, right? So the language also has to be very, very important. phrases and terminology of the relevant industry, and don't stick to traditional formats because and don't expect ChatGPT to do your word to do your work. It can fine tune, but dimag aapko apna lagana padega. So basic initial hard work has to be yours. Focus on the positives. Do not focus on the gaps. And aajkal LinkedIn, maybe you can write your career breaks, but there's ways you can kind of not highlight the breaks and show the skills that you acquired during the breaks, right? So it's an art of kind of manipulation, a little bit of manipulation, which is positive because you've added value. Anything you do in life, even if it's a career break, is adding value, right? So it gave you time. How positively, how can you turn around a career break? It gave you time to kind of introspect and look at what you really wanted, right, out of life, right? So many people who are like high end professional these days, they clearly say मैं इस time पे break पे था, मैं introspect कर रहा था. As long as you believe yourself, that's what you were doing, you can say it, you can flaunt it and say it authentically, right? So don't take the focus away from things. Don't take the focus away. Keep the focus on the job description you're applying for, and even in your interviews, right? It's not a sub story. It is not highlighting कि आप career transition कर रहे हैं, उससे कोई फर्क नहीं पड़ता. See, the recruiters are not interested in your sub stories. They're also not a learning school. वो आपको support करने के लिए भी नहीं है. उनका job बहुत clear है. They are hiring for a particular JD. It is as focused as that, right? So all that you present to them, whether it is in the form of a resume or in the form of communication, has to be a response to the job description that has been shared, to the research about the industry, to the value that you bring to that industry or that particular role. Is it that is about the roles and clicking through the roles, right? So highlight your transferable skills, whether it's the industry expertise, communication, analytics, project management, whatever are the transferable skills you bring to the job. And also get creative with the resume format, depending on whether you had gaps or something else, or so on and so forth, right? So don't take the focus away. And it's also a very, very focused approach. And I can't say it as many times, I've been very repetitive, but yes, it has to be a focused approach, right? So, and moving on to interviews, right? So interviews is practice, practice, practice those pitches, right? So we go over, see, each role, if you work with someone experienced, there's a set of questions that are probably going to be asked. And if you've learned the tricks of the trade, if you've learned the art, you can even manipulate the interviewer to ask you the questions that you want them to ask, right? So you can kind of learn that art as well, right? And it is only about practice and pitching. And we work with my mentees, I work on pitches, right? So anytime they're going for interviews, they know what to highlight for this particular role, what is their selling point, what they can talk about. It's pitch and it's practice and it is role plays. It's also a lot of company and industry search. These are your tools. And yes, before others believe your story, you have to believe your own story. And it is very easy for the interviewers, especially HR interviewers, to figure out if your story is not authentic, right? So learn the power of storytelling, how you narrate the same experience, especially during significant life transitions, shapes our self-perception as well as those who perceive us, right? So they'll believe what you tell them, right? And how you tell them is what you have to learn. You have to learn the art of storytelling, right? So that is very important because you have to talk the same terminology, highlight the right things, and tell it authentically. And attitude change is the most important thing that has to be. That is very, very important in this, right? So before I move further, I again pause to know, were there any tough interview questions that you guys have to face where you were kind of stuck in terms of how to answer them, or you were taken by surprise? anyone has any input at this stage. Okay, no problem. So let me move a bit further and we'll come back to these questions. So important thing is manage your emotions during this emotional roller coaster. Acknowledge them. Acknowledge that this is a tough phase. Acknowledge you will go through a lot, but then at the end of it, it's going to be very, very positive, right? And yes, you do need support, and that is why they say mentors are very important when this happens, right? So they also kind of handhold you in the journey when you don't crack it, or when you are struggling, or when you don't know what to respond, right? So yes, yes. I have a mentee. She's a 54-year-old woman who's a CHRO, right? And she's been asked to let go. She's been let go, right? She's been asked to kind of move out of the organization, right? And imagine what she's going through at this phase, right? So it's difficult, right? Ageism also happens. That's why I said mid-career or late career transitions are tremendously tough, right? So going back to someone in the workshop who was talking about kind of he's young and he's just entered a career path and things are not going right. So at least you have age on your side, right? You have an entire career path. So see, there's so much positive also, right? So if depending on where you are, at least you're not doing this career transition when you are much later in age, right? So it's you're doing it earlier on, which is good, which is good. And you have to always remember to have a positive mindset because that's going to see you through this storm. And some tips while you make career transitions, there's no shortcuts. Whether you like it or not, there's no shortcuts that are possible. It is a marathon. It is not a sprint. It's not a short run, right? कि आप यहाँ से point A से point B पे भागे. ये थोड़ा सा marathon है. इसमें थोड़ा सा time लगेगा, थोड़ा सा patience चाहिए, थोड़ा सा positive mindset चाहिए. Best part is you're driving this change and your journey is unique, right? So, and yes, you will make imperfect actions. होगा, गलतियां होंगी. शायद आप point A से point B पे जाने के लिए शुरू हुए थे, but आप point C पे जा रहे हो. But that's okay because this is a very evolving journey, right? So if we keep on it, don't rush, right? So don't rush, right? So there's no shortcut, and if you want to make a meaningful career change, there's going to be no shortcuts. Go slow, like don't rush. The more haste, the less speed, right? So jaldi mat machaiye. Just because something is hard does not mean you are failing, right? So career transitions are hard, doesn't mean you're failing, right? Progress is so much less about talent than it is about time, effort, commitment, and consistency, right? So time, effort, commitment, consistency. Those are the keywords, right? And that's what you have to remember in this journey. And yes, so I know, and it is tough, right? So explore without expectation. हर चीज से results मत expect करिए. Dabble in your interest. There's no judgment. This is your personal playground, right? आप ही driver हैं, आप ही चीजें explore करें. So enjoy this journey while it is there. And also, आजकल तो hustles भी हैं, right? So you can explore something, get into a side hustle, see if it's going to click for you. Like a workshop attendee was talking about how he's done certain projects, right? So that's very helpful, right? So it's like tasting a buffet before you decide कि आपका favorite dish क्या है, right? So that is why एक या दो possible options जरूर रखिए. Cast a wide net. You don't know what you're going to catch, right? So and important thing is that's what I said earlier on. आप अपनी जर्नी में क्या इन्वेस्ट करना चाहते हैं? आप अपनी जो लिख रहे हैं ये मूवी उसमें जिसमें आप मेन हीरो हैं उसमें what is it? What are you willing to invest in your story? Right, the timeline, the resources, anything and everything, right? And this is it's going to be award winning as long as you're patient and put in the effort. So embrace your journey and be confident in it. It is very important to network, right? It is very, very, there's no two ways about it. And you have to network with the people, the industry that you're going to be in, right? Without showcasing that it's a career transition, right? So it's a very बहुत बारीक चीज है ये कि आपको showcase और flaunt नहीं करना कि career transition कर रहे हैं, because people are not interested to kind of, it's not a school, right? The recruiters have not opened a school which is a training school, right? So काफी बार हम ये समझ नहीं पाते, right? हम अपनी sob story बताते हैं, हम अपनी वजहें बताते हैं, बट हम ये नहीं समझते कि जो सामने वाला है उसका बहुत क्लियर कट गोल है कि उसको उसको recruiter has roles to fill in a day, right? He or she has targets, right? So he or she may give you a kind ear, but it is not their सॉफ्ट स्टोरी मत सुनाइए, आप अपना बेस्ट फुट फॉरवर्ड करिए। इवन अपने मतलब अब जब आप नेटवर्क भी कर रहे हैं तो भी आप अपना बेस्ट फुट ही फॉरवर्ड करेंगे, अनलेस यू आर वेरी क्लोज टू द मेंटोर एंड यू कैन पुट द गार्ड डाउन, राइट? सो दैट्स वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट। ऑल्सो वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट इन दिस जर्नी इज कि आप डिफाइन करिए कि मेरा ये वॉक अवे पॉइंट है। अगर मैं फ्री में काम नहीं करूंगी तो नहीं करूंगी, और अगर मैं इस एक्स अमाउंट से नीचे काम नहीं करूंगी तो नहीं करूंगी। करेक्ट? आप आपको वो वॉक अवे पॉइंट बताना है, बनाना है। ये नहीं कि हर चीज के लिए आप हाँ बोलेंगे। करियर ट्रांजिशन कर रहे हैं तो डजंट मीन राइट कि इट्स लाइक अ फ्री फॉर ऑल, राइट? You have to see what we did with the mentee who moved into product development. Right now he's looking for 3 years plus experience, right? Because we built on his past experience. He's not looking for a fresher's role. So please understand, you have to build that story in such a way that it kind of takes away your experience and adds on to the current role, right? Not takes it away. अगर fresher की तरह start करने तो फिर मजा ही क्या है, right? So identify what energizes you, what is your passion, and use energy instead of passion, and let it guide your career shift. So listen to your gut feelings and stay open to possibilities, and your career adventure awaits you. So coming back to questions, और इसमें ये भी याद रखिए कि आप अपने, कई बार क्या होता है हम अपने वर्स्ट क्रिटिक होते हैं, राइट? वी आर ओवर क्रिटिकल, we don't give ourselves a chance, right? We're kinder to others but then to ourselves, right? So you always have to, one line that you remember jab aap apni story, you're going in front of recruiters or people who are interviewing you have to tell them a story which tells them why, what is your unique story, and why you're a good fitment with your story, not despite it, right? So you build your story in such a way you are uniquely qualified because of your unique background, not in spite of it, राइट? तो अगर आप डेवलपर थे और फिर प्रोडक्ट में मूव कर रहे हैं तो आपका पिच होना चाहिए बिकॉज आई हैव वर्क हैंड्स ऑन इन डेवलपमेंट, I that's a skill I bring, right? So I'm a very good fitment for a product role in a tech company, right? Because I've worked on it myself, so I know how to communicate to developers. I speak the same language. I understand their timelines. So आप अपनी story पे build करेंगे. That's what you have to believe yourself first, and you are a good fitment because of your story and not despite it. So that is very important. And don't let others try to connect the dots, because you should have connected the dots so that you are able to communicate the dots, right? So वो आप जब connect कर लेंगे तो लोग उसको gap नहीं समझेंगे, लोग वही believe करेंगे जो आप उनको सुनाएंगे. So I think this is all that I wanted to share with you today. So if I would love questions from you, and I would like to understand from you. एंड इस जर्नी में हमारे लिए लिंक्डइन बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट होता है। तो जैसे हम आपको सीएफओ कैंडिडेट के मेंटी के बारे में बता रहे थे, सो ही वाज नेवर एक्टिव ऑन लिंक्डइन, ओके? सो ही हैड 300 connections, right? So even responding to the post or putting, he was so afraid to post something, right? So he sent me a message, this is what I'm going to post, right? So and then I like, so we walked hand in hand in terms of, okay, this is how you will do it, this is how you are uniquely selling, this is how you are showcasing, this is what you do, this is how you change your profile, you change your summary statement, right? आपके पास 4 क्वालिफिकेशन है, आप अपने आप को सिर्फ एक जगह का सीएफओ क्यों दिखा रहे हैं? आप अपनी दिखाइए क्वालिफिकेशंस, और फिर आप दिखाइए कि आप यहाँ पे इस लेवल पे काम करते हैं। आप समरी में दिखाइए आपने एक्विजिशंस भी किए हैं, मर्जर्स भी किए हैं, कंपनीज में टर्न अराउंड भी लाए हैं, फंड रेजिंग भी की है, कितने ट्यून की है, और कितने हाई वॉल्यूम्स ऑफ बजट्स हैंडल किए, वो सब आप दिखाएंगे। आप बताएंगे तो कोई समझेगा, जब आप डिटेल्स देंगे so someone will get lost in it, right? So please, where do you see yourself in 5 years? I mean, 1 year is fine, but how is anyone expected to predict 5 years? So I think it is yes, Swaraj, but again depends आप क्या लाए हैं। अगर एक रेज्यूमे है जिसने बहुत चेंजेस किए हुए हैं, तो उसको तो कंसिस्टेंसी दिखानी चाहिए 5 साल में। एंड हु इज, सी, यू बिल्ड द स्टोरी, यू बिल्ड द लाइफ स्टोरी, एंड build it around the company, right? You tell them based on what you offer. स्वराज, अगर आप थोड़े और मुझे डिटेल्स बताते, सी, अगर इट्स अ रेज्यूमे जिसने बहुत चेंजेस किए हैं, तो मैं उस 5 साल वाले में कंसिस्टेंसी दिखाऊंगी, वैल्यू एड दिखाऊंगी, बहुत चीजें दिखाऊंगी। और अगर कंसिस्टेंसी थी और मुझे रोल, आप इंटरनली और कोई रोल ढूंढ रहे हैं, तो उसमें ब्रेथ दिखाएंगे। सो इट्स लाइक, इफ आई अंडरस्टैंड द बैकग्राउंड मोर, मे बी आई कैन आंसर इट वेल। बट एवरी, सी, दैट्स द बेस्ट पार्ट, स्वराज। आपकी मूवी है, आपकी स्टोरी है, आप हीरो हैं, राइट? सो यू हैव टू सी, एज लॉन्ग एज यू राइट द राइट पिच, every answer to every question should be a subtle selling. And again, it has to be done so subtly कि आपको भी नहीं पता आप बेच रहे हैं और सामने वाले को भी नहीं पता। इट्स नॉट एक्सप्लिसिट एंड इन द फेस, राइट? सो दैट्स समथिंग दैट यू हैव टू रिमेंबर। अगर, और जब यू लर्न दिस आर्ट, राइट, तो आप तो किसी इंटरव्यूअर को जो आप बताना चाहते हैं, आप वो ही बोल सकते हैं। For example, my mentee, he has been trained to talk about the skills that he has of product management in almost all answers, right? So idhar se nahi to idhar se nahi to idhar se, he will bring those, right? So showcasing how he's a good fit man. एंड दिस इज अगेन, उसने काम किया हुआ है, उसके पास टर्मिनोलॉजी नहीं थी, आपको वो भाषा बोलनी सीखनी, आपको सेम टर्मिनोलॉजी बात करनी है, राइट? सो वंस यू एक्वायर दैट, selling becomes, and you connect your own life stories dot, it becomes easy.
I think Swaraj wanted to ask, like, related to the interview question that we often hear from the recruiters, that where do you see yourself in the next 5 years? So I
Yeah.
think that was an answer that he was looking for.
Sure. And it's basically, so what I was trying to say, Bhavya, like if it is someone who's had a very inconsistent resume, right? So if it's like every 2 years they've changed their job, right? So as an interviewer, I will be concerned on the stability of the candidate, right? So then it becomes a very good selling point to tell the interviewer कि मुझे, since I've had at the beginning of my career, I've had good exposure in multiple roles that I did. Now I have kind of realized the value I bring to this job and how I want to do well in this role, right? So I would showcase consistency, right? If I have someone who's been consistent, depends में क्या story बेचने गई हो, Swaraj, right? And Bhavya, right? So that's what I'm trying to answer. So if I know the story more, then I'll tell you how to answer it. But agar if I'm someone who's been very stable, then I will talk about something else depending on what I've come to sell in that interview, right? So, and Swaraj, if you want to give me some more background offline, I'll be happy to kind of answer in more detail, depending on the background you bring to the job, right? So, yeah. Any other questions, comments, thoughts? Any other thoughts, comments? I think, Bhavya, anyone wants to kind of voice out their questions or write it, You're welcome to do that. And if I haven't been able to answer any aspects, you know how to reach me. And Bhavya shared the coordinates as well. Feel free to drop a message or reach out, and I'll be happy to respond.
Minu, I think if anyone doesn't have a question to follow up, and even we are also very much, wrapped up with the presentation and all, probably we can wait for 1 or 2 minutes and wrap up this group session, or both of you or the audience can bring up if they have anything to.
Sure. So thank you, Bhavya, and appreciate this forum. And thank you, Bhavya. And I strongly recommend for all of you who are in the career transition journey to use the platform because I just saw a post yesterday which talked about like so many people have been able to switch careers successfully, right, using the platform and getting in touch with the mentors, right? So hand holding mentors, hand holding them, giving showcase kind of networking, helping them network better, helping them build their profiles better. So please feel free to use the platform. Shri, thank you.
Uh, yeah, ma'am. I just want to ask you a query about how will be the case for people who have actually dropped out and then completed their education. Like I dropped out after my fourth year because I
Okay,
was not. I mean, I wasn't interested in electronics and communication, that the branch that I took.
okay,
And after a few years, I went back and completed it just for a graduation degree, and
okay.
then I entered the workforce.
Then
Um,
you okay? So Shriji, tell me. So you were doing a BTech. You dropped out
yeah,
for 1 year. Okay, and
no,
when you dropped out, what were you doing during that break?
um, at that time I wasn't doing. I was looking for a career, but I wasn't doing anything particular. I was helping my father. Well, he had a business, small business, so he
Okay,
was also
so
starting out.
so entrepreneurship sells, Srijit. Entrepreneurship sells very well. So I would not see, Srijit depends. Or ab aap kya kare? So what are you doing now? Like, so you took this, give me years, right? So you dropped out when you were in your third year or fourth year.
No, no. After completing my fourth year, uh,
Okay,
I had backlogs and wasn't interested in
okay,
continuing it. So at that time,
okay,
I dropped out.
okay, fair
So
enough. And you were doing a BTech. And then you help your father for how long in the business?
3 years. I
Okay,
shouldn't say I helped out. I mean, I was there, help, what
you were
minor,
running the business.
no, minor jobs. Most of the time, most of
Okay,
the work was he was doing. So
okay, ठीक है, and what is that business, if you don't mind sharing?
it was a traveling service, tours and
Traveling,
travels.
okay, tours and travels, okay, and then you went back and completed your degree, and then what, Srijit?
I joined I joined BPO sector.
Okay,
I worked there for 2 years.
okay,
Uh, I was promoted there and had my own team uh,
hmm,
as a SME. And
hmm.
at that time, I started working on KPI data and all that. Uh,
And you got into analytics or something?
yeah, I started getting interested in analytics and creating dashboards and all those things.
Okay,
So after I did a little bit of research, I understood how, a little better about data science, and I still had a little bit interest in programming, so I wanted to try it out. So after that, when I felt that I think I can choose data science as my future career, I
hmm.
left my job and decided to focus completely on this field.
Data science.
Yeah.
And now, what stage of the journey are you in, Srijit? I know you mentioned comments, but I'm not able to kind of connect the dots right now. So, what are you looking to? So, you are looking for a role in data now.
Yeah, I actually completed the certifications and from an institute, and I'm currently doing a remote internship.
Okay,
I had done few of my own projects.
excellent,
Uh,
excellent. Okay, fair enough, Srijit. So, fair enough. So, you will. What I would do, I would work backwards. Okay, so up depends on what you see. Now that you want to work in data, right?
yeah,
So, have you come to this stage where you're applying for roles?
yeah, I applied for a few, but It's
Okay, so
no,
Shriji, broadly, okay, so I haven't seen your like a documented profile and I haven't spoken to you in detail. Ideally, I like far more details than this. But broadly, at at a high level, what I could tell you, what I see is I see a professional who was very interested in data science, right? So whilst he was studying, I'm still not sure at this stage whether we say that he took a break because of family circumstances or we say that he was so passionate about data science that he got asked to work on businesses in data science, right? So your dad was running a tours and travel, your family business was tours and travel. So I would kind of showcase how that company, which was like a basic company, started to use data and other tools, right, to kind of get more clients. And when you brought that company to a steady state, you went back, right? Whilst you continued with your passion of data and you worked with the BPO, and you kind of got additional exposure in terms of teams, but you kind of showcase the experience in terms of data. See, in a BPO, you also work a lot on data, correct,
yes, yes.
Shriji? You do, right? So we pull out that data experience out of the BPO experience. We play down the BPO experience, pull out the data experience, right? So it's a kind of a storyline, right? This guy, or unless, see, if I was you, I wouldn't even highlight my year of graduation. If you've done this for 6, 7, 8 years, right?
Yes.
Unless there's very junior recruiter who hits you and says, when did you pass out, right? So sometimes they do. So I would play it down and talk about all the data experience that you built on the journey, right? So, and then I will kind of give it the roles, your exposure, right? So I assume, Srijit, you're very good with data, right? You're doing freelancing projects, you're working, right? So we would build that backwards to fill up those gaps. So it's a storyline in the same direction.
Okay.
हाँ and और अगर कोई डिटेल में खुदता है तो there's no wrong in saying that I was not doing. See, at that time, see what happens in India still, right? We all enter degrees, right? More by default than by choice, right?
Yes.
And when we're doing the degree, we realize sadly कि ये तो I wasn't meant to do this, right? I had my interest or passion elsewhere, right? So it doesn't hurt to say that my passion was data and this is how good I am. So I would divert the interviewer and the interview to talk about the strengths and the skills that I build on data, right? And then I would kind of work on my LinkedIn as well, showcasing the data, the projects, kind of start talking about data and build myself like a little authority, depending on the years of experience you have, Shriji. I would showcase myself as a LinkedIn, as a data professional. That's what I would do. And also, if you meet a recruiter, right, because people are more open, even if they are not, you should be authentic and say, because it seems data is your passion, right? You're making money out of it or you're getting exposure, right? And now,
Yes.
since you've got trainings done, usme bhi aap projects highlight kare, right? More than the training aspect, say that you worked and since you had learned the skills on the job, you kind of wanted to fine tune by doing a training with them, right? So this is how you kind of build one straight storyline. And the
Okay.
rest I can, when I see more details, I can add a little more value, right? So yeah.
Thank you.
And I hope this, you're welcome, Srijit. Yes, Abhishek. So you have a question when someone is changing job very frequently, like within 1.5 years, how recruiter, not very good, Abhishek, but then depends what is the story you bring to the table, right? So are you changing in the same domain? My mentee changed the job because he was underpaid. Okay, so technology, the developer part, he wasn't interested. The other company was underpaying him, right? So, but your story has to be in the same, right? So, and how many job changes, Abhishek? So, once I look at the profile, I could maybe give you some logical reasons of kind of doing it. So, 3 in 4 years. Okay, so you can always say, Abhishek, and now in your current stint, how long have you worked? So now, if I was to 1 year and now you're looking to change the job again, yeah, okay, fair enough. So is it be and you're choosing to do it, right? Or is it in voluntary or involuntary, right? So depending. So now, if coming back to someone who had asked a question, right, where do you see yourself in 5 years? So I would, in your case, flaunt that I will. I have. You can say that I've worked with different companies and I've worked across roles in different cultures. And I really am so excited to work in this culture because this is all that I've heard positive. I went to the Glassdoor, I researched this, I checked the product line, and I like in the last 4 years I have been hopping because one the culture was missing or something. Build a story based on more details when I talk to you, Abhishek. So, and then I will say that I would love to continue in this role and grow in this role because I've done what normally graduates, technology graduates do, right? They change every year to kind of get better money and better working aspects. But now all that is behind me. And okay, so I'll want to look at more details. But now, because I have done job hopping, even that you say confidently. I've done job hopping like all Indian graduates do for the last 4 years, and now I have sat down. I have taken a break. I've done introspection, and I know that this is exactly what I want to do. I have researched about your company. This is what I like. And you have to genuinely research and then build a story why you are one a good fit despite all your job changes and what you bring to the table, right? So both those pitches have to be strong, Abhishek. And yeah, but first you have to also learn to believe your story, right? And likewise for Shriji, one, it's not about building a story. It's easier said than done. You learn to believe it. You learn to fix all the gaps from all angles that are possible through interview questions, and you get gain confidence, right? So yes, excellent. So I think, Bhavya, we've done with the questions, and I really enjoyed the session, everyone. So thank you so much for your participation, and look forward to future workshops.
Yeah, thank you so much for the most insightful session, Meenu. And thank you everyone for who joined the session. If you are actively looking for a long-term mentor, just like the other mentees who Meenu have also catered, and you do want to dedicate some 1 or 2 months of timeline in order to crack a very good job through the end-to-end preparation of Meenu itself, you can always book a free trial session with Meenu on the website of Preplace, and then proceed further for a long-term mentorship also after discussing your problems, goals, and expectations in the sessions. And obviously, hearing the roadmap from the Minu that how she is going to help you further into the long term mentorship and preparation.
Excellent. Thank you, Bhavya. Those were
Excellent.
kind words.
Thank you so much, Minu, for the session, and thank you so much, everyone, for joining. If unless there is anything that both of you guys want to add up, we can proceed further.
Sure. Thank you, everyone, and thanks, Bhavya, for conducting this.
Yeah. Bye.
Thank
Thanks.
you.